you've had quite a career. I mean, I guess some of the things I wanted to ask is like a geek act seems to be one of the. Did you ever see a bona fide geek? Did you ever run a geek act?
Yes.
And could you describe a geek?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Change tape. Okay, we'll hold that.
And he had two beautiful roosters, one silver one and that one. Now, maybe that's not one of my. Yeah, that's the silver one. The other one is across the fence. But and they both of them had got over into my neighbor's yard. His fellow used to work for me. He's an illusionist, the Great Houston. And I wanted them back here, so I went starting at his driveway and sprinkled chicken feed all the way along and up into my driveway, hoping they would come back over here. And I've got to get 2-3 hens and put in here because they roost them. The only way you're going to keep the roosters in your yard is to have some hens.
Oh, that's funny. So that was a
but
gift
they're
from
pretty,
Bruce?
and
Was
I
it a
wanted
gift
them.
from Bruce?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves chickens.
That's funny. Does he have pet chickens himself?
Mm-hmm. Over at our winter quarters where we keep the show, and he was living over there, and he kept hatching more and more chickens. He finally ended up with about 125 chickens. And so the man that owns the property, the roosters crowing early in the morning were disturbing the people. So he asked him to leave. So that's when he bought a piece of property over here on Alice Avenue. And I said, why on Alice? He said, I see other neighbors there with chickens, so it'll be all right. And
So
I
he's
said,
he's probably going to grow a bit. Huh?
I said, well, I see that that piece of property has been on the market for 2 years. What are they asking for it? He said, $41,000. I said, well, you probably get it for 20, maybe 25. And in a couple of weeks he came back and he was all happy. And I said, you look happy today. Oh, yes, I just closed on that property. I said, oh, good. I said, what did you finally have to give for it? He said, $41,000. I said, you didn't negotiate? Oh, I don't like to negotiate.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, you could have got it for less than that. He said, well, that's all right. I won't have to be paying any interest on it because I paid cash. Oh, boy.
Wow.
Where were we?
Well. He's done well with you.
Oh, yes.
Oh, good. Well, Word, I guess we'll pick up with that. I asked you if you ever had geek acts.
Oh, yes. All right.
And then, I guess, to the uninitiated, and then there's the different degrees of it, I guess.
Okay. A geek is a sort of a wild man or wild woman. And the geek will supposedly eat live animals or snakes. One time I played the Tennessee State Fair, and the man that laid out the lot was mad at me about something. And so they had booked a big illusion show, which is like a circus sideshow, only instead of freaks, it's all illusions, but still sold like a freak show. And he put him right in the line ahead of me. And it was pretty bad. So I said, I got to do something. And I wish I had a geek. And one of the guys who worked for me said, oh, I'll be a geek. Okay. And so made him up as a wild girl. And we would bring a chicken out, and we'd hold the chicken and shake it a little bit so the chicken would flap its wings. And we'd tell him about the geek. He's in the pit right now, and we're going to feed her. And you're going to see her bite the head off of the chicken, and she'll eat the chicken, bones, feathers, meat, and all. And you have to go in right now, though, because we're going to feed her in just 3 minutes. So that was to make the turn. Well, actually, we only gave a chicken maybe once every 2-3 hours, because after all, they cost money. And he would palm a razor blade in his there between his fingers, and so when he'd take the chicken and play with the chicken and and then finally get it up and like he's going to bite the head off of it, and he'd cut its throat with the razor blade, and of course then the blood would squirt all over him and so on and so forth. It's a very nasty thing to have. I hate geeks, but it was a matter of necessity, so to speak. The most lucrative geek show that I ever heard of was two gentlemen by the name of Renton, Chuck, and I don't remember his brother's name. And they each had a geek show, but they would combine for the Michigan State Fair in Detroit. And they each had a geek. And he's not a brown boy, he's not a black boy, he's not a white boy. He is a strange little boy. And you will see him eat the live snakes. And they would bally with the chicken. And there's some way you can do this, and I never really learned how to do it because I didn't like geek shows. But anyway, he would hypnotize the chicken and lay it on its back on the ticket box. And the chicken would actually just lay immobile there until he woke it up at the end of the bally, and that's how he ballied the thing. And they never actually bit into the snakes, but the guy would put it in his mouth, and then they'd say, "Oh, look, he's gonna get out! Everybody, run, run!" And people would bust out of the thing, and that was like another bally. They'd run out, and people see people running out, then they want to go in, and they topped the entire Midway. Over all the big rides, over all the big shows, they outgrossed everything there, and but they were really experts at that business.
But the Geek, I mean, there's no, I mean, that, what year was this where they were still
Oh,
having
this was in 1955. I remember that.
When was your Geek act?
I was 53.
Your act was in 53?
53, but only for 10 days. That was it. As soon as I got where I could make money without it, I didn't bother with it. There was an old Southern gentleman, white man, and I remember that I don't remember the man's name that had the geek show, but he geeked alligators. He had a couple little alligators and he'd bite on them, you know. And I remember he told me, he said, "You know, I am the best geek what has ever been in the show business. I've been geeking for nigh on to 30 years. And he was so proud of being a geek. But he was a performer. He entertained the people with those alligators.